cutting down the roster to 53 men plus the practice squad. So let's talk Lions. Woo! Hey, welcome back to an all-new episode. Instead of a post-game for the final preseason, I figure let's just wrap that and roll it into what is this 53-man roster prediction video, because, I mean, the preseason game, if you watched it yesterday, there's some stuff to glean. There's some stuff to look at. Certain guys, Strickland making a name for himself, laying down some hits, Hendon Hooker. As we go on, there's a lot of stuff that you could pull from it, but at the same time, I figure let's just roll into a 53-man roster prediction. If you're brand new to the channel, thank you. Thank you for hanging out. This is Let's Talk Lions. My name is Jay, and glad to be here. So, with that being said, some of these are very clear. I think when you look at the different position groups, some of them are pretty clear. Others of them are what you would call a wee bit hazy, similar to the Mortal Bloom Hazy IPA by Founders, which if you haven't had it, you're missing out. You're missing out. Mortal Bloom, great beer. Great beer. That hazy IPA, it's top tier. It's one of their better beers. Founders makes pretty much anything that's good, anything that's great. But as things are a little bit hazy, let's clear them up by drinking alcohol. In fact, Founders and Let's Talk Lions, well, turn it into a pretzel over here. More to come there later. However, let's jump into this 53-man roster prediction, obviously beginning with the quarterback position. It's clear. It is defined. This preseason training camp, all of it has shown us, as we've talked about, the Hendon Hooker experiment is over. Kyle Allen definitely solidifying himself as QB2, which is awesome. It's awesome to see that Kyle Allen, 8 years in the league. 8 years in the league. You might not even know that, but the dude has been around. He's been on multiple different rosters, and it's really cool to see him actually blossom into a solid backup to Goff the way he's playing. I'd love to see him with the ones. I'd love to see the way he operates behind our O-line and with Gibbs and Monty to his side, because what we're seeing out of him, the way he's finding Tesla, his vision, he's really good at making decisions, right? Like his decision-making in the pocket, I love it. You look back to the first game, obviously he throws, I believe, 2 picks in that first preseason game, but both picks, great decisions. Both interceptions, like where he was throwing the ball, what he was choosing to do, phenomenal decision. It was just underthrown, here. So as the preseason games have gone on, as the training camp for the Lions has developed, he has developed, and his decision-making has been there from the start, and it has proven itself to be that. It's now him hitting the right spots, which he has done. So I love seeing Kyle Allen step up in that. Hendon Hooker, bro, I don't even think he's coming back to the practice squad. Like, sayonara, he's getting cut. I would be utterly blown away if the Lions kept him, but I do not see him as QB3, and I don't honestly even see him coming back to Detroit. I got a feeling that Hendon is going to find himself on another squad this season, and it won't be here. It would be shocking. So you've got Goff, you've got Kyle Allen, and I believe that Hendon Hooker is gone. We saw it again yesterday. Bad decision-making, bad vision, throwing the ball, that pick, like, I don't know, over and over again. I just believe that he's gone. Now, the thing you got to know is it sucks. It sucks to look at that these guys are getting cut, but I love how Chris Spielman put it in the preseason game. He said, you got to understand, not only are they trying to get a job here in Detroit, but they're auditioning for the other 31 squads. So Hendon will wind up somewhere, just don't see it being here. Hey, Cleveland. My bad. From there, let's stick in the offense. Wide receiver core, which I think has one of the better debates for guys at position. Obviously, you've got St. Brown, you got J-Mo, you've got Khalif, you got Timmy P, right? Those are the top 4. Tesla has made himself the candidate for wide receiver 3 this season, but you've got Tesla coming in at number 5. Really, it comes down to, you got Tom Kennedy, who has been faithful since the Matt Patricia era, lacrosse player, He'll probably be on the practice squad. He knows that that's his life. And honestly, I don't think he even minds. He's like, sick, this is great. So the guys that are now in this world of do they stay or do they go? You've got Tom Kennedy, Bell, Malik Taylor, Dominic Lovett, Jackson Meeks. These are the guys that are all in the mix, some of them standing out more than others, and you would say that it would be Lovett and Meeks. Personally, I think Meeks has done more to prove himself. Now, Dominic Lovett, obviously, the way that Brad Holmes, everything we've looked into him, there's a lot of upside, but when I look at these two, it's a very difficult decision, but I'm taking Meeks, and I think the Lions take Meeks here. All that he offers for the Lions offense with the other slew of guys, right? With St. Brown, with Williams, with Patrick, with Tesla, with Raymond, I think you bring in Meeks. That's the guy that I see the Lions bringing back here. Dominic Lovett, potentially, if he clears waivers, back on the practice squad, but I think somebody else would nab him before he makes our practice squad. So again, you got St. Brown, J-Mo, Timmy P, Tesla, Raymond, and then I'm going Jackson Meeks. All right, let's head to the running backs room, which I think has some very interesting stakes here. I mean, Gibbs and Monty, 1 and 2, obviously. Well, 1 and 1, I guess you could really say. We know it's 1 and 2. From there, Craig Reynolds, Vaki, Sailors, and Jackson. These are kind of your next guys. Craig Reynolds has done a phenomenal job in the preseason games. Watching the development of Craig Reynolds over the last 3, 4, 5 years here in Detroit, he was in Washington, he comes here, has been something of it's just been a beautiful story in the making. He has progressed so far. The way he runs, the way his vision is, the blocking, and I mean, watching him in that preseason game against Houston, some of the moves he made in order to juke out guys, his hurdle over the dude, like, it's really, I've seen him trip up a few times that you could tell he stands up, he's frustrated because he has a hole, he trips up. But Craig Reynolds, the progress that he has made, something of beauty. So he's sticking around. So obviously you got Gibbs, Monty, Reynolds. The last two, of the three, the last two that I think your biggest debate's going to be is between Vaki and Sailors. And I love Sailors. I love what this guy has done. He actually kind of reminds me of a Monty Jamal Williams combination. He puts his head down and he is a battering ram. It's like in Minas Tirith, right? Battle of Minas Tirith, when they call in that big werewolf with the fire coming out of the mouth and they're busting down the doors to get into the White City. God, it's a great scene. Great scene. And that's kind of how I see Sailors. He has that to him. However, Vaki's the guy. Vaki is the guy. We know that even with his, I think it's been a hamstring injury this training camp. He's coming back. He is what he offers, special teams, running backs room, every bit of who Vaki is this versatile component to the offense, to special teams that we're not going to let go. And so it's going to be carrying 4 backs, Gibbs, Monty, Reynolds, Vaki doubling, obviously. And then I think Sailors, if not claimed, on the practice squad. Great backup. He's a guy I want to see back in Detroit. Kind of afraid another team's going to look and say, that's smash mouth running back. I want him. Like Oakland, even though they got Ashton Genty, but not Oakland. You know what? I don't even care. It's Oakland. It's Oakland forever. Deal with it, Vegas. Tight ends. I mean, there's no question here. This one's very simple. Obviously, you got Sam Laporta, you got Brock Wright, and you got Shane Zylstra. There was that was an interesting room that I was anticipating more battling for that tight end 3 spot. I thought Zylstra was going to have to really prove himself and work a hell of a lot harder, but he didn't really have, he was the clear takeaway as tight end 3. I'm not even going to spend a lot of time here. Very simple. Those 3 guys on the roster. Tackles as well, pretty solidified with Sewell and Decker left and right. And then from there, Manu, who I've seen a lot of good stuff out of these preseason games. I'm very excited to see him take those next steps forward. And obviously, Dan Skipper, wide receiver 7. Dan Skipper, who just continues to get better. I'm pretty sure in Hard Knocks, was he the guy who got cut? And he asked coach, like, what do I need to do to be on this team? If I'm not mistaken, it was Skipper. Could have been somebody else. But seeing the steps and the strides he's taken forward has been awesome. And he's just a household name now. Skipper. Why don't I have a Skipper jersey? So, offensive tackles pretty set in stone because they are the cornerstone, the foundation of this Detroit Lions team. You've obviously got Graham Glasgow, who's going to be playing center. You got Tate Ratledge at right guard. Don't forget, we got Mahogany. I believe his name is pronounced Awiaska. I don't even know. Honestly, I don't even know. It's Awosika. Awosika. Honestly, I see it all the time, and I'm like, that's just one of those names. Some people said, I don't want to learn Amani Al-Ruwarie. And I'm like, that's fair, but we had to say his name a lot. I'm sorry. Forgive me, Coyote. Forgive me. And then lastly, I'm going with Muti. I believe that's how you pronounce his name as well. Forgive me if it's not. But I've seen a lot out of this kid, and I've watched him bury some defensive linemen here in these preseason games. There was some guy, I think it was 2 games ago against the Finns, that I just watched him plaster to the ground. But we're seeing in the interior offensive line his capabilities. I think there's a lot of upside for him coming into this year, and I would love to see him get a shot at this 53-man roster, if not brought back on that practice squad. All right, so let's look at the defensive tackles. This is an interesting room. Obviously, you got Aleem McNeil, who is on the PUP, or maybe the injured reserve. I forget. I think he's on the physically unable to perform. But you've got Aleem McNeil, who's going to come back at nose tackle and be the guy. So we got a few guys designated to injury at the moment who, when back, are going to be dogs and they're going to take these positions. But at the moment, while you're looking at what you're able to bring in, I see the Lions bringing in 6 of these guys, being DJ Reader, obviously, and Tyleek Williams, our number 1 overall pick this year. Roy Lopez, who we acquired because of Aleem McNeil's injury from the Cardinals. So you got these 3 right off the bat. Wingo, making a name for himself. Pat O'Connor, talk about making a name for yourself. Great name. Super Irish. Patrick O'Connor. I'll drink a Guinness with that guy. But you got to see, like, this man has stepped up in a way where I was really excited to see what he could do. And my God, has he made a name for himself. And really, lastly, you got Chris Smith or Keith Cooper. Keith Cooper, solid, but here's a guy who, once we get Aleem back, once we get Josh Pascal back, how does that shift that 1A versus 1B lineup for the Lions? So very excited for the defensive tackles. Defensive end, Hutchinson, Davenport. I wish I could say he's Darius Smith, but I cannot. Also, Muhammad, there's a guy, there's a dog who has shown up. Obviously, still missing, like I said, Josh Pascal. Wish he could come back. I don't know when the trajectory is. If you do know, please drop it in the comments. And Hassanin, who's probably going to wind up on the IR, because here's a guy who we know he's a dog. He's a dog, and we won't see him. I believe he might be out for the entire season, if I'm not mistaken. And then followed by 4th spot, Nate Lynn. And then we'll see who lands on the practice squad. Then there's the linebacker room, which there was a lot of chatter earlier this offseason, but obviously Alex Anzalone and Jack Campbell, right? Here you got Alex Anzalone, Jack Campbell, Derek Barnes. There you go. There's your Will, Sam, and Mike. Not in that order. But you got your 3 big linebackers coming in. Grant Stewart. Grant Stewart and Nowaski. Here's 2 guys who, Stewart coming from the Colts, Nowaski, seeing him, these 2 guys fly around the field. And I'll say this about Grant Stewart. Him fielding those kickoffs, it's funny to watch him field his first one, which he fumbled in game 1 of the preseason in the Hall of Fame game, followed by this week rushing that ball down to the 50-yard line with his hair on fire. He is a guy who plays with his hair on fire, with a chip on his shoulder, and I love it. I love it. He is a battering ram of a human with that beautiful, beautiful hair. From there, Anthony Pittman, Zach Cunningham, that's your questionable. Who do the Lions take? Give me Anthony Pittman. Lest we forget, Rodrigo. It sounds like he might miss a couple games. September. Sounds like he might miss the majority of September, if not into a little bit of October, depending on how we work him back in. But once Rodrigo's back, that's huge. There we go. Move one of these guys down to the practice squad, so on and so forth. Lastly, let's get into our secondary split into 2, right? You got your cornerbacks and you got your safeties. Looking at our cornerbacks, obviously you got TA, right? You got Terrion Arnold and DJ Reed. Those are our 1-2. Amik Robertson, proven himself to be, right? They tried to bury me. Famous quote. So good. Love what we got. But you got Amik, Terrion Arnold. You got DJ Reed, followed by Avonte Maddox. Here's a guy that I think is kind of slipping under the radar, and we've talked about him a little bit. Some people don't really see. Khalil Dorsey coming off the PUP earlier this week, right? That was huge news. Huge news to see Dorsey come back. Very excited. From there, I'm going Whiteside. Okay. I think Whiteside's upside. Double side. And now we've got our safeties, Brian Branch, Kirby Joseph, and Rock Yassin. I think that's how you say Yassin. I knew a kid growing up with this last name, and it was pronounced Yassin. So, just doing the best I can here. But it's great because you look at Yassin and what he offers. He's a vet, which is huge. And then you got Avonte Maddox, who can kind of play both sides here, which I love our secondary. I think our secondary is one of the better in the NFL, which is kind of it's a bold statement. But when I look at the grand scheme of it, our starters between DJ Reed, Terrion Arnold, Brian Branch, Kirby Joseph, like that's a ballin' secondary coming in here in Detroit in 2025. Ian Kennelly, also a solid addition to this group because of what he offers on special teams. And this is a part of what we've seen. This is a part of how Dan Campbell and co run this is like, man, if you offer something on that special team side of the ball, there is a place for you. And we've seen him in these preseason games, training camp, really own a spot there on special teams in every different aspect, which is huge. So I think he's going to stick around. Strickland just didn't see enough. Saw a lot out of this last preseason game. Saw him popping guys, saw him put his head down, driving tackles, which was amazing, but didn't see enough throughout all of it. He's a guy who I think we could see on the practice squad. Again, you only get 16 guys. Everything changed after COVID. I forget if it was 16 or 19, but long and the short of it is Strickland, solid player, lots of upside. I don't know if he has done enough to claim a spot on this squad. Don't forget about Maurice Norris, which we will see what happens to him. He's kind of in this weird limbo land. I don't really know. I don't really know what happens. It's such a weird situation. Does he land a spot? Is he on the IR? Do we bring him back? I don't know. So that's questionable. I don't know. I really can't speak to that one at all because of how peculiar of a situation it is. And it's funny because I actually forgot. I was thinking last but not least, you got the safeties, you got the cornerbacks, but I forgot about, Jack Fox and Jake Bates and Hogan Hatton. So that's my bad because they're locked in. But yeah, man, that's kind of me looking at this 53-man roster. Some of these guys that I really see making the team. It's interesting because this year versus other years as a Lions fan, I feel like the squad is pretty locked in. It's those hovering guys who are right on the outskirt, whereas years past, 5 years ago, if I'm doing this, it's all up in the air, right? Who's going to be wide receiver 2? Who's going to be wide receiver 3? Whereas now the Lions squad is so locked in who we are, how the team is built, the foundation of these guys, that there's so much less worry, and it's really like, okay, if Hassanin was healthy, is he making the squad, right? Or looking at the cornerbacks. So it's kind of like, all in all, it feels pretty steady as a whole, but that's my 53-man roster prediction. Pretty simple. We saw a lot out of that last game. Hendon Hooker, it was nice to know you. I guess we'll see you maybe in New England. I don't know. I don't know where this guy goes, and it's just not going to stay in Detroit. And you know what? It's a little hazy. Like this hazy mortal bloom by Founders. And if you haven't had it, man, you're missing out. Just go get it. Get it. Stop thinking about it. Just do it. You're going to like it. And if you don't like it, let me know in the comments. Let me know why. Because I'll argue with you gently. It'll be like a gentle argument. It'll be the type of argument where it's not mean. It's just, it's debate. We'll debate it. And you might be like, well, I don't like IPAs. Well, then you're not going to like it. So move along, honey bunny. I'm more of a stout guy myself, but it's way too hot. Way too hot for a stout. But I heard we're getting some good weather earlier this week. Well, early in the week. Let's get ready for some Lions football, shall we?